Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed your workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I am here to say you can stop the madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss coach from weightlossalbany.com. This is Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear about how to stop the mental madness, how to love your body, trust your food decisions, and take back control of food so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. Welcome to Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. It's your host, Leslie M. Thornton. My nickname when I first started my business was lesliemthornton.com. So I always kind of want to say that, but that's my name. So here we are today. The last couple episodes that we've had have been around sex abuse. And what felt like the natural next episode to record, at least I think actually the one that's going to come out this week. Anyway, we're a little delayed because I record in advance, but was to be around relationships and how relationships correlate with permanent weight loss and why you might have extra weight on your body. I think it's becoming pretty common these days where people have the awareness that people might have extra weight on their body to keep themselves safe in some way, that it's a subconscious way to keep yourself feeling safe and protected, maybe because something traumatic like sex abuse happened in the past, or maybe just because, something else happened that also made you feel not so great or a little uncomfortable. And so, for example, I have a client right now, she knows who she is, who was brave enough to do what I was saying, a few podcast episodes ago about actually declaring that, the sex abuse happened to her in her past and it made a difference, and the awarenesses she had around the fact that that happened and how it translated over into the type of men that she was attracting into her life. And how, because of her subconscious fear and conscious fear of her safety being in jeopardy because of the sexual abuse that happened to her in the past, she would continue to attract that type of situation, that type of man that might take advantage of her or might even attack her. And of course, that's an awful thing to happen. And if that's something that's ever happened to you, I am terribly sorry for that. That's pretty scary and awful. And it makes sense that you would still have those fears kind of hanging out in the background. Now, if none of that has happened to you, that's okay too. This episode is going to be talking a lot of different things on relationships. It's actually one of my favorite things to coach people on. So at Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, something that becomes very prevalent pretty soon after joining the program is the fact that it's not really the food and the weight that is the problem. Sure, it's a challenge, but mostly it's the fact that there are other areas of your life that are not working. And one of those areas can absolutely be areas of relationships. So kind of two camps you can be in. Number one is you might be pretending that you're happy by yourself when in fact your subconscious is not actually happy with that at all. Number two, you may actually be happy by yourself, and that's cool too. If that's your camp, that's also awesome. And the third camp, so I said there's two, but I guess there's actually three, is you're in a relationship now that is not working at all either. And we don't want to face those things, but when we have our authentic truth happening in the background, whatever truth that is, whatever camp you're in, we can't deny it. And the more that we deny it or push it away, the more we might use something like food to numb out from feeling that or for feeling the pain. And sometimes it's not necessarily in our awareness. Maybe it's clicking to you as I'm saying something right now. It doesn't really matter. We all become aware of our unique truths at different times in life. And the important thing to know is that if you're in one of those places and you're dissatisfied with your relationship status or with the type of men or women that you've attracted in the past, there is a way out of it. There's actually conscious behaviors you can actually start executing that will give you different results. And that's exactly what hypnosis is all about, right? It's actually becoming aware of new things, slowing down the mind, getting present to what's not working, introducing new awarenesses into your subconscious by way of hypnosis, and taking action outside of your comfort zone in the opposite way that you would normally take the action. Okay, it's just like the quote of the only definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Okay, so if you keep, waking up after a few years and being unsatisfied or unhappy in a relationship, and then you end up leaving that and it's happening over and over again. This could also happen in the opposite way where you're always left in a relationship. Okay, we're onto something here, right? There's probably something happening with you, right? That happened to me one day. That was my story was, I'd be in these great relationships. I'm a relationship-oriented person. I'd be happy for a time, and then I'd wake up one day unsatisfied, and I'd end up leaving that relationship. And after it happened enough times, I was onto myself, and I was like, okay, it's something with me. And if I keep this pattern up over and over again for the rest of my life, I can see my fate. I'll be married and divorced, and in a relationship and not in a relationship over and over again, and I don't want that. It's not okay with me. Not in that way. Maybe your pattern is you can't get into a relationship, or maybe you always have an abusive relationship, or, you're always meeting jerks that just want to take advantage of you sexually, right? Like whatever that is for you, it's like, okay, that's the pattern. That's what we're studying. And let's look at that. There's so much to learn on this topic. So first thing that I want to say is, regardless of any relationship out there, the most important relationship you could ever master is the relationship with yourself. Okay, so there's a TED Talk, and this woman talks about the way that she became happy was she actually figured out that she had to marry herself first. She had been married 3 times, divorced 3 times, and now she was in another relationship dating someone, but this was actually the happiest relationship she ever had because prior to getting into that relationship, she had made the decision to marry herself. Super powerful. Okay, so what does it mean to actually marry yourself? In my opinion, it means learning to love and accept all parts of yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? Just like learning how to be unconditionally loving with yourself. And most likely, if you're coming from a diet mentality, which I imagine everybody listening to this podcast does, you're not very kind to yourself. You've never actually learned how to be compassionate with you. You're hard on yourself. Every time you fall off your diet plan, you're angry with yourself. You're frustrated. You have all or nothing thinking. You throw the baby in with the bathwater, right? You completely throw out the baby with the bathwater and you stop all your diet altogether and you're eating a whole cake and a whole thing of ice cream when nobody's looking, right? You're doing all that crazy behavior, which is not your fault. It happens how can we learn this stuff if we've never learned it? And that's the whole point, is that right now we're on the cutting edge of bringing in consciousness and awareness and realizing that love and compassion and understanding is the way. It's the access to everything that we've ever wanted. But instead, our drill sergeants lead the way of being hard on ourselves and whipping that whip to make us work harder and faster. And when your soul is not asking for that, it feels pretty awful and pretty scary because you can't get yourself to do it, even though the old ways that used to motivate you aren't working anymore. Okay, and when most people find me, that's where they're at, is like, I just wish that I could actually eat the way that I want to eat every day. I wish that I could get myself to do exercise every day, but I'm not doing it. It's like, okay, let's talk about that. There's a reason why. There's something that's behind that. So, relationship with you. Okay, and all of the subconscious mind mastery tools, all the coaching, all the stuff that you're immersed in, and my Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss program teaches you how to be compassionate and learn how to unconditionally love and accept you. And from there, others can learn to love and accept you as well. So this client that I was referring to, after she became aware of this stuff, she acknowledged and admitted the fact that she had that sex abuse and the impact that it's had on her ability to date nice men in the future. It allowed her to then get ready and ask for coaching on, okay, so how do I actually attract in a great man? I'm ready to start dating. Okay, and she was a little scared. She wasn't sure that she was ready to start dating right off the bat, but once we got off the call and I was able to support her, then, she was able to feel inspired to take action. And she's getting herself on dating apps, and she's probably in her 40s, if I had to guess. And yeah, getting back on track. And that's totally possible for absolutely anybody. So there's actual things, especially, right, as a woman. So one of the things that I really feel about, something that I have a strong opinion about, is the fact that because we have been immersed, especially as women, into the man's world, right? We're all learning how to do everything just as good as a man, right? Since the women's empowerment movement and women's suffrage and all of that kind of stuff, right? And absolutely awesome. I have no qualms against that. You know, women are super smart, and of course they should be able to do whatever kind of career and anything that they want in their life. And it has also trained women to forget their most beautiful, natural, given gifts, talents, strength. Okay, so A Course in Miracles talks about how, or it might be A Course in Love, which is a sequel, how most women, when they come into the world, their natural automatic strengths are intuition and emotions. And for most men, not all, that come into the world, their natural strengths are logic and reasoning. And so now that women are fully immersed in the man's world, their logic and reasoning is super great. They've trained themselves to be that. That's the same with myself, right? Really good. I'm really good at business. I'm really good when I was working as a nurse with like really making the machine work, right? Because having people in and out of the hospital, that's machine-like in a lot of ways. I was great at it. Okay, and we're not as much practicing the emotional mastery and the intuition part anymore. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough space. We're training our brains to move 100 miles per hour. And there's a big disadvantage to that, and it's affecting our entire planet. Women don't know how to be women, or don't know how to embrace their gifts and talents. Not all women, but a lot, especially the ones that are successful and professional. And then men don't have their natural instinctual ways of going after women, or for being able to see that a woman is a high quality woman that has them act a different way than being not a very nice man, if that makes sense. So if a woman approaches a situation and it's not her fault at all, she's just being herself, she's just letting herself be normal, and maybe she's a free spirit, and maybe she's saying she's okay with, you know, having sex on the first date, or, you know, like they just have different belief systems that it's like, yeah, you know, what's the big deal? Men and women are equal. Okay, and if that's you, I'm not judging you, and if you want to keep doing that, that's fine. This episode is for people that really are open to looking at maybe some of my habits or ways of being or behaviors or some things that I'm saying are actually giving me results that I don't want, and they're open to trying something different that could give them a different result, that will allow them to have a happy, healthy marriage that will last forever, right? Or will allow them to get out of a relationship that's out of alignment with them and get more in integrity with themselves and be happy and make their families happy too. Okay, so I'm talking to that person who's got the growth mentality, who's open to coaching, not looking for having, you know, sexism debates. That's not what I'm into at all. I love and accept wherever anybody's at. This is just some different things that made a really big difference for me when I got coached in the same realm on relationships. So, for example, right, if you're going on the dating apps, you want to make sure that your photos look like, you know, really nice photos of kind of girl next door kind of look has been proven to be more effective than super business professional photos. A man wants to feel like you're easy to be with and hang around with and feels confident and happy and all that kind of stuff. Number 2 is when you're on the dating app, you want to make sure that whatever you're writing there is authentic and genuine. I remember talking to some friends who were dating, and I knew that they were looking for marriage, and I asked them, you know, on the first date, are you saying you're looking for marriage? Or are you putting that on your dating profile? They're like, oh my gosh, no way. I would never do that. And it's like, what? Why not? Like, why are you not going to actually want to be with somebody who has the same intentions as you? Right? Like, that doesn't seem to make sense. So being honest is really important, because otherwise you might be hanging out with a man for 5 days who has absolutely no intention of commitment and just wants to hang out. right? So having those open, honest conversations, super important. And then when you're on the dating apps, I'm just giving you some quick tips here. There's obviously way deeper that we can go, right? You might want to comment on that man's profile and say, hey, I love that. I'm just using man, but if you're, whatever your sex of preference is, right? You just, hey, I really like that you like to travel. Where's your favorite place to go? Right? So it's like showing interest. You looked at their profile and you're asking a casual question, but then after that, as the woman, you just want to lean back. Just want to relax. So I can't tell you, and it used to be me as well, the amount of women that I see that, the man will hardly give them anything back, or they'll give a one answer back and no question back to you, and they're just going to keep chatting you up, right? As the woman, if you want a really quality man, you want a man who's stepping up to the plate, who's being genuine, who's being courteous, who's being thoughtful, who is being careful, who wants to keep you safe and protect you and do those healthy masculine behaviors. So you're looking for a man who will respond back, ask you a question, and after that, it's just about, smiley face or flirty kind of face, or, just like being nice but not coming at the man super hard. It's just inauthentic to our instinctual energy to have the woman kind of go after the man, if that makes sense. So you really want to pay attention if they're really pursuing you, okay? And after they ask maybe a couple questions, right? You just look for the opportunity to say, that seems like a better conversation for in person, winky face, right? Which kind of gives them the hint of, you'd like to meet in person so that you can actually get a feel, because a high value woman doesn't waste her time texting all day, right? Before you've even met someone and know if that's somebody who's even worth spending any time with, or you can have a quick phone call, right? You also want to be safe and not give your phone number out. And the man should be respectful of that and understand. And he's going to appreciate that you're someone who takes care of yourself. You're not just giving your phone number out super fast to anybody who asks, because a man wants to know that he's with a woman who's being careful and not just letting herself be open to any man who wants to be around her, etc. Okay, so those are just some like scratch the surface tips. There's way deeper that you can go, and obviously that's just for the dating world. Okay, so that stuff just really makes a difference. And then when the first date happens, you want to look out for them picking a place that's closer to you, right? You don't want to have them making you drive an hour to get to them. Like, that's a bad sign right off the bat, right? And, just by vetting a man in that way, you're already off to a good start if they've kind of met those criteria. And then you're with them, and what you really want to do as a woman is sit back and really feel the way that you're feeling when you're with that man, right? Like, do you feel uptight? Do you feel like, do you feel like, or do you feel super relaxed and taken care of? And like, you don't have to be on, like, it's not a job interview. And so many women that I talk to, you're just used to being in the business way, and you could talk to a door if you have to, right? But it's like, do you want to talk to a door your whole life? Like, do you want to, right? It's like really feeling the way you want to feel. And a healthy man will, kind of carry the conversation and be the leader and lead the way. And you want him to, feel that masculinity and let him lead the way, right? Which can be foreign because there's so many female leaders today. But this is also why relationships are becoming harder and harder to be successful, because women have forgotten to be women. And men don't know how to be with women that are super forward and upfront. Not all men, not all women, just the facts for a lot of these different scenarios. Now, if you're in a relationship that isn't working, first of all, I'm sorry that's happening. It's really hard when you become aware of that, and especially if you have family or kids or stuff like that happening, it can feel really scary and really upsetting and be very emotional. And so my heart goes out to you. I've been there before, not with children, but in, really, really long-term relationships that felt like marriages, and that inner knowing just can happen one day that it's not working. Okay. So again, my heart goes out to you, and it's going to be okay. Will you be brave enough to take action and to try to get help with that? That's the question, right? And that's where coaching can be really helpful to people, is because sometimes it is too scary, or sometimes we don't know how to have those difficult conversations. right? A lot of my work is on communication and how to have conversations in a way that works for everybody and in ways that doesn't make other people mad or think bad ways about you because you sound too cross or whatever that is, right? Feminine communication style is super, super, super powerful. So that's stuff that you can learn as well. And again, it just comes with how committed are you to making a change and attracting something different into your life, really up-leveling yourself. Okay. Now, the other part that's important to talk about is, what are the messages going on in your head when you think about leaving that partner or getting into a different relationship? Oh, I'm never going to find anybody as good as this guy again, right? I hear that one a lot. And one of the main things that you want to coach yourself and say is, as you're dating or it's him or someone greater. It's him or someone greater. Like, we're in a planet full of 6 billion people. And we latch on to the first person that brings us flowers, right? And that's something that we really need to look out for. Something that I also want to say, so I'm kind of jumping around. My brain is getting excited. So I'm not good enough. There's not another like him. I'm whatever it is. Okay. We talk about those disempowering beliefs that you're believing. So what is the thing that you're believing that has you not take action, and get to work on that. Okay. And then the other thing that I want to talk about is how important it is to be super clear about what exactly it is that you're looking for in a partner. Okay. Like all the values. I made a list not too long ago, maybe 6 months ago or a little longer, of exactly what I was looking for in my partner. My lifelong partner. And it was 2 pages long. It's really long because I had studied a bunch of couples who I really admired. I was like, wow, that relationship's awesome. Like, I would love to have a relationship that good. It's so great. And I asked them, I said, how did this happen? Like, how were you able to find this awesome companion that's, working in this really amazing, sustainable marriage? And every single one of them told me that they had a list for what they were looking for in a partner. And they committed to themselves, they committed to their friends, that they would never settle until that list was complete. Until absolutely everything on their list was met, they wouldn't marry somebody. And they wouldn't even commit to anybody. It's like, wow. Talk about having faith. They're like, I'd rather be alone than to settle for something that really matters to me in a lifelong partner. That's awesome. So I made a list like that, and I was scared. I didn't think I was ever going to be able to find it. And I haven't found every aspect, but I found pretty close. And that person is working pretty hard to have the other aspects of my list be met. Not because I'm making him, but because he actually genuinely wants to for himself anyway. And this is just kind of putting the fire under his butt to be able to make it happen, which is awesome. We can't predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen, but at least the commitment to myself and the clarity of myself of exactly what I'm looking for, and that if those things aren't being met, I'm not settling or saying yes, then that's pretty great. That's super helpful. And so often when we aren't intentional, when we don't have clarity about what it is that we're looking for in a partner, we'll just, again, like I was saying before, take the first person that gives us flowers or the first person that gives us any attention, right? Because that feels good. But all of those good feelings are run by emotions, they're run by hormones, right? And some of the coaching that I was given was you don't even kiss the person until at least 6 dates. There's no French kissing for 10 dates or something like that. I can't remember. And obviously there's going to be kickback to that. I've said that to friends that like, oh my gosh, how could that ever be? There's no, sleeping in each other's bed. There's no getting sexual with a person until after 3 months, right? And again, I got all the pushback from friends. Oh my gosh, how could that be? But, again, this is for people who are committed to having a different result. And I'm not saying it's a one size fits all. That would be silly, but it's an interesting concept if you think about it. Because it's like if you give a man absolutely everything without them having to, keep working hard to make you feel loved, and right, they might actually get frustrated if you're not, quote unquote, putting out for 3 months. But it's like, do you want to be with a man like that? Or do you want to be with a man who respects your boundaries and what you care about and all of that kind of stuff? Right? So it's like a faster way to find the true colors of that man and not giving them everything, because then they're not motivated to marry you. They're not motivated to keep working, to being the person that you really would like to be with if they're really actually infatuated by you or really love you or really care about you a lot. And the other reason for not or delaying those kinds of processes is because the hormones start as soon as that stuff starts. And then it can cloud your thinking. Oh, well, I can make an exception to that rule because he's just so great. Right? Or he just makes me feel good. And then another thing that we see is that the words that a man is saying will be the thing that we'll just go by versus the actions. Okay, so words are great. They can feel awesome. Words of affirmation as a love language is great, right? But are the actions following the words? It's something that we really want to look for. If not, you're just dealing with somebody who's just faking it till they make it and they're not making it. And that's pretty bad to be with if you're somebody who is a go-getter, which most of the people that I work with are. So be careful with hormones and emotions clouding the way. Have a clear intention list of what it is that you're looking for in your partner and make a commitment that you're not going to settle for anything less than that. And in the meantime, keep working on yourself and use any dating scenario as an opportunity to learn more about yourself and get support for that process. And something that I also see a lot with my Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss clients is, I'm too fat to attract a partner. I'm not good enough yet. I'm not fit enough yet, right? It's like that self-worth thing comes in, or that perfectionism, right? Oh God, I have to get to the gym super fast because now I'm in the dating world because my relationship just ended. And, in order for me to attract in my mates, I have to look amazing. Totally understand that concept. It seems logical, and to a certain degree, it can be okay. But again, you want to look at where that intention is coming from. It's like, okay, so you're doing that for a man. You're not doing that for yourself. You're not doing it for yourself because it feels good, right? You want to look at, it's like, oh, I'm just doing this, and that means it's coming from a place of not good enough, or not there yet, or have to do this in order to. Right? Not, I want to do this because it makes me feel great, right? Like a man who's super unconditionally loving, or a woman, right, is going to be able to just love and accept you wherever you're at right now. And the key for that to be able to happen is you're just authentic right from the start. Even if you're just after a divorce, or even if you have kids, or even if you have extra weight on your body because you just went through a really troubling and trialing time in your life. Right? And this goes with any relationship, not just romantic relationship. It's like if you're able to just authentically say like, yeah, I gained 100 pounds recently and it's really hard for me, but I had a very hard last several years because of X, Y, and Z, and I have lots of support and I'm working towards that right now, and I trust my path and I have faith that I'm being guided where I need to go, and I'm focusing on being grateful for what I do have, and I'm grateful it happened because of X, Y, and Z. It's like, wow, this is an extraordinary person, right? So there is no perfect. There is no there yet. There is no good enough. And if you're waiting until you're good enough, you're never going to find somebody who's unconditionally loving and accepting of you just the way you are today. Because you're not unconditionally loving and accepting of you just the way you are today. Something that I teach my clients is the fact that we are all works in progress and masterpieces at the same time. You're a masterpiece right now. Absolutely. You're perfect just the way you are. And when you have a growth mindset and you are motivated by doing better and being better and getting to new heights and, right, like getting to that next level because it makes you happy and it makes you feel alive, then you're always a work in progress at the same time, but not from a place of not good enough, from a place of this is my value system. I enjoy this, right? There's a huge difference there. That's the difference between temporary and permanent, being able to come from that empowered, self-loving space for yourself and for others. So that's what I have to say today on relationships. And there's probably more I could say. Again, this is just scratching the surface. I coach people on this kind of stuff all the time. And then once people start taking action on the relationships that aren't working in their lives, I know especially right now with COVID, relationships are up. It's about to get cold in certain areas of our world, wintertime. And for those in Australia, it's summertime. But with COVID happening, it's kind of like, who are you going to be buddying up with? And COVID is now starting to become on the increase again. And we're going to be isolated all winter. So it feels scary, but you can absolutely still attract your partner while you're in isolation, right? You just have to be safe. You have to think out of the box, right? And not buy into any of those fears or scary thoughts that are holding you back from taking that first action. So if you're ready to take your first action step out of your comfort zone, you're ready to start taking control over your life and not letting fears or limiting beliefs stop you from being able to live your best life, contact me today, coachmeleslie@gmail.com, and we'll get you started. Again, coachmeleslie@gmail.com. We also have a hypnosis training we can send you. Just give us an email, coachmeleslie@gmail.com, and we'll talk to you next week.